At AIA Australia, helping your clients in their time of need is our number one priority. In 2016, we paid over $1.15 billion in claims to both retail and group members. That's over $4.5 million every working day. To offer your clients cover you can trust, chat to your AIA CDM today.
So, Cathryn, 2 years on, you were, I think, our second guest on XY Live, one of the most popular ones that we've had, talking about integrating professional coaching and into your financial advice business. At that time, your business was 2 months old, 3 months old?
Yeah, I probably had 2 or 3 clients, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now we're 2
years.
2 years.
Almost 2 years to the day, I think, since we did that interview.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's changed?
What's changed? Well, obviously I've got a few more clients.
More than 2. That's
Yeah.
probably a good thing.
Paying myself a salary, have staff. Yeah. And I think my business model hasn't changed yet, but I'm going to spend a bit of time in January just kind of thinking about how my service model changes a bit to meet what my sticky clients need.
Yeah. Okay. So interested to hear sort of how things have changed. So maybe because your business is very hands-on, but maybe you could just explain how the approach works and the sort of advice.
Well, obviously everyone that watches this won't have watched my first interview. The diehards maybe.
Cheers, Dylan.
So my target market is female divorcees or women who have experienced job loss, death of a partner, that sort of thing. So they want someone to be that person that sits beside them on the couch, that they can bounce ideas off and helps them manage their money too. So that's my business. That's 12 Wealth. The majority of my clients are that's who I talk to. But I have a number of other clients who are husband and wife, happily married, no plans for divorce, who are also wealth accumulators. And they've mainly been referrals from my other clients.
Okay. And so you talk about you're thinking about repositioning some of your service to your sticky clients. What's driving that and what does it look like?
Yeah, so I reckon about 12 months in, I started thinking about who my best referral partners were. Like in the first 12 months, I think because you talk about going into business for so long, you've got kind of a pipeline of clients who have said they'll come to you and you don't need referral partners.
Yeah.
In the next 12 months, I really started trying to think about who my best referral partners were.
This is the hairdresser.
Yeah, it was no longer just the hairdresser. She ran out of people to refer. And the GP stopped referring too. So I've got a number of really good referral relationships with divorce lawyers. And they're great referrers of people, but what I've kind of established is a lot of the time their clients come and see me, get some advice, and then they'll say, yeah, really keen, but probably don't need you for 12 months when I get my settlement. And so what I've decided is that, one, I want to get myself skilled up as a collaborative financial advisor and get a qualification to do that.
What does that mean?
I'll tell you that in a sec.
Okay.
And the second is that I want to start charging for those initial meetings, especially when they're referred by lawyers, that they're paying an hourly rate to. So that's a bit of a business model change. And the third is I've been doing a lot of workshops that I get paid to do, but I haven't really been marketing that. And that's a great source of income for me, but it also allows me to provide scaled general advice. So to help people without all of the compliance. So I think I want to do more of that. So that's the changes.
And what's the objective behind that? Obviously, the workshops is additional sort of marketing.
I thought it's partly marketing, but I'm really not trying to win clients out of that. The objective is to provide women with financial confidence to engage in their financial affairs. And if I get clients from it, that's great. But if I'm being remunerated well to do it, the client, you can help people at scale without then needing to take a fee from them.
Yeah, sure.
Coming along.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And what's this collaborative advice? What's that about?
So there's a process, there's a group of people that call themselves collaborative practitioners. And collaborative practitioners help people to have good divorces. So typically in a collaborative process, you have 2 collaborative divorce lawyers and they actually have a commitment not to go to court. So that's a really different process.
Yeah.
And then you have a mediator And
Yeah.
you also have a financial coach.
Right.
And in a process like that, what happens is husband and wife sit down together with their lawyers,
Yeah.
and a mediator and a financial advisor.
Oh, okay.
And that financial advisor works with them to be running cash flows and working everything out as they go, rather than operating in a bit of a black hole.
Right. Okay.
So that would be a movement more towards fee for providing a service to some collaborative professionals.
Yeah.
And then potentially becoming a financial advisor for one of those parties on a long-term basis.
Okay. And is it more just out of interest, or is that an acquisition strategy?
No, it's not an acquisition. It's an acquisition strategy because you get clients. So if that's what you mean.
Yeah.
Yes, it's an acquisition strategy. No, it allows me to provide a better service for the referral partners that are referring work to me.
Yeah.
And to be rewarded for the service that I'm providing as I go along, instead of when they come to me in 12 months time.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? So it's a way of being remunerated to provide a service and engaged at the front end, rather than once a decision's been made.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what you mentioned that you wanted to change things, but to be more tailored to your sticky clients?
Yeah, so I found that my sticky clients really appreciate the emotional bit that I provide. So I think I said in our initial meeting, because it was a real mantra for me, is what's the logical value and what's the emotional value? Mm-hmm. And the logical value is what a lot of financial advisors do.
Yeah.
It's what we think we get paid for.
Yeah.
But often after a year or two, you realise people don't want to pay you for that anymore because they feel like you've done the practical work.
Yes.
The clients that stick around really appreciate that emotional value bit, and that's the coaching bit, and being able to call you up and say, I'm thinking about taking a new job, Yeah. And they're not just wanting to talk about the salary.
Yeah.
They're thinking about how it affects their long-term goals and, how they negotiate the salary package, or how they get an extra 3 days leave a year, or, that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I also have some interesting conversations like that with clients, and feel like I'm sort of like almost a careers counsellor.
Right.
Sometimes.
Yeah. And do you think
there's want reassurance or something?
That's right. But because you're their wise counsel, do you think they're stickier? Do you find those clients to be stickier?
Yeah, I find that I think, and we've had this conversation before, but I've found that with that sort of work, people feel like they should have their finances sorted, right? People, so they think that they should do it. So sometimes they push through the inaction barrier and actually, get things started, but you have to be committed to make it happen. It's not always easy. You have to, it's all balancing. It's which levers you pull. You have to make some sacrifices, right? So I find some people say that they want to do it, but then they don't take the action that represents that. And we've had this conversation and we're going to talk about clients that leave your service, but they're the ones that typically leave because they're not getting the results. At the end of the day, we want to give people, like you say, the tangible sort of like the numbers value, and then the emotional value. But if you're not engaging, then you end up getting the shits. There's no
emotional value. There's no logical value,
and they're not getting the financial results. So
so
people leave. And I know we had that conversation. I was going to talk about it a bit later, but we had that conversation at the start. And I feel like, in terms of when you started the business, what did you think your exit rate was going to be for clients?
It's funny that your ideology is not to lose clients, right?
Yeah.
I remember asking my financial advisor, who's a fee-for-service advisor, who's been in business a number of years more than we have, what I should assume in terms of attrition when I was doing my original business plan, and he said 20%. And I was like, no, 1 in 5?
Yeah.
No way. And I certainly haven't lost 1 in 5, but I've only been in business a few years. But it's not 1 in 20 that you lose. Like it's been more than I thought it would be. But in most cases, it's sort of been okay. The people that leave have kind of been frustrating because they haven't done. There hasn't been any congruence. It kind of feels like there's always a bit of friction because they're not doing what they need to
Exactly.
do. You feel like, I feel like I'm doing a whole lot of work and not getting any outcomes. So that's really unsatisfying.
You're chasing them for things because they're
that's
not doing the stuff that they need to do.
And I think it's unsatisfying for us, but I'm sure it's even more unsatisfying for Yang and Karen, who are doing all of the chasing and admin and getting frustrated and feeling like they're not doing their job well. And it's
exactly. I remember having a conversation with my mentor Dean. Shout out Dean. At the start, and he was saying like we were doing some sort of numbers, and he said, "What's your exit rate?" And I was like, "Oh, this service is gonna be so awesome. Like people are gonna leave because they're gonna love it. They'll build all these things so that it's awesome. You know, we're gonna help them." But people, when they don't, like you say, they don't engage, they don't get the results, they don't get the emotional benefits, and then then they sort of almost have to leave if they're not doing the work. And sometimes I've had a couple where I've had to tell them like, there's no point. You're paying the fee when you're not getting any benefit. You may as well just not pay the fee and get some more money. Waste almost.
What did you assume is your number up front?
0.
Wow. What do you assume now?
Well, I think I actually built something into the model because I was told to, but I didn't think that anybody would, because I think in the past I'd worked in businesses, and when people were, the first business I worked in was had an investment management arm, so they could still continue to add value there, even if people weren't doing on the financial side. And then the last business I worked in is probably a little bit lower engagement, lower service level, so they're happy to just let those things sort of bubble away in the background. But if you're paying $5,000 a year for your ongoing advice, you need to be getting something out of it. It's sort of like, that's bad for the advisor to keep doing that, and obviously come do the fee for no service bit as well. But now I think we probably normally it happens at the start. Like it will happen, someone will come on. I say it's an expectation to take ongoing service, because otherwise you may as well not spend the money on the plan to begin with.
I agree. I won't do a plan without ongoing service. Just like too hard.
But it's normally
and
around
not satisfying.
Exactly. I push for the same thing. And it's about that sort of 6-month mark where it's too hard. They're not sticking to the budget. It's not working. They're not getting the results. And then we have a chat. And then oftentimes they'll sort of exit after that. And we probably be under 10%. Maybe we got a small business anyway.
I mean, I've got a few that, now that I'm 2 years in, I've had maybe 10% of my clients go from quarterly advice meetings to annual. So I didn't kind of foresee that, which is crazy. They're kind of all done, and it's actually a win to keep them a review client, and I charge less for that. So that's a form of attrition. Because you have your revenue on those clients, or around, depending on the circumstance. So that's a form of attrition. So if I added that to the people that leave, then it's 20%, I reckon, because I reckon I'm about the same. 10% have left and 10% have gone annual.
And how do you find it when people drop their service level, like if they go from a quarterly review to an annual review, in terms of, obviously they're not getting the same support, but are they getting, do you find, because from my experience, people don't tend to not stick to the plan. So like if you set an annual plan for someone, do they then do it? Is that a viable option?
I don't know yet. The clients that have become annual review clients have really kind of financially, they're kind of sticking to the plan. Or there's been a major change in their life. So it could be that they've gone from working for a big corporate and earning a salary to starting their own business. So I don't think they're going to be as good at sticking to their plan, but they think they will be. So let's just wait and see. Let's wait.
I went the other way with our clients. So when I started the business, it was annual with like a 6-month check-in and then a quarterly phone call. And I found that just nobody was sticking to their plan. I was doing these things and everyone was off track. So then I just condensed it more and more. And now I do monthly phone calls to make sure that they do that.
Increase to account for that?
Yes. Yes, but it's almost like, and
less clients.
I actually had this same conversation with a client just today, just earlier, and she said, "Oh well, because we sort of changed our fees to reduce the asset-based fees and to move to fixed dollar only." And she's separated from a partner, and they were both staying clients. But I said, we're going to have to put your fees up now because we're dealing with you individually, and plus we've had these changes. And she said, "Well, I can do a 2-monthly. I could do it every 2 months." And I said to her, "Well, one, I know that you're more likely to get the results if we do it in a 2-month
monthly instead
of 2 monthly, which is going to be better for you longer term, but also better for us because we know that it's actually working. And two, it actually takes longer to get your head back into it every 2 months, where it's almost easier to continue to deliver that service if you're doing it every month, because I know exactly what's happening. I only spoke to them 4 or 5 weeks ago, so I don't have to do the prep work."
No, I totally understand. Yeah, because I find doing quarterly reviews, it takes me an hour to prepare for the quarterly review. Takes me an hour afterwards to do the notes. Put all the tasks in. So it's 3 hours of work. If I did that monthly, it would take me.
The same. You probably spent the hour in the first month, the hour prepping in the second month, and then you do the review. And
similar. So I think you're right.
So it's sort of and then it makes it so much easier to do the annual planning because you know that.
Oh, you know exactly where they're at. You've got your head in the client.
Yeah. So what is so you talk about you want them that you're the person that sits on the couch with them. What does that look like from an advice perspective?
It means that do you mean from an advice perspective?
Or about the process and I suppose the types of advice that you give and then how that's delivered and then the process.
Yeah. So probably like anybody else, I do that initial meeting. And that, it's all about goals. So I'm a goals-based advisor, like a lot of people that are XY advisor. It's very holistic. So it starts with cash flow, finishes with estate planning. So that's the advice stuff. So my first 3 months, it's all pretty much the same as everybody else. In terms of what I'm getting paid for, it's fact find. What are your goals? How are we going to get you there? So I meet the clients. 3 months later, I do a strategy session and run through the strategy. That's not an SOA strategy. It's just big picture. We've had all this backwards and forwards. Here's what I think life looks like. And if it's a divorcee, it might be, it's all the typical stuff. Where's your money? Where are you getting money from? Where's it going? Can you afford a house? Can you not? All that sort of stuff.
And what happens in the 3 months in the middle? You're doing fact finds and stuff?
Like a whole raft of stuff. It's all I think it's gathering information, formulating strategy, talking to them. It's pretty heavy going that first 3 months, running scenarios, kind of coming up with a long-term plan. So I don't try and do that in 2 weeks in an SOA. It's really, I might be getting insurance quotes. It's kind of all the work you do for a massive SOA, but without doing the SOA. So all the research, basically.
And do you meet with the clients through that 3-month period? Or
no, I try not to meet with them face to face. I just have a chat.
Okay.
Or Cathryn is doing legwork. It's all the kind of standard. I don't do a big fact find up front where the client fills it in. I don't do that. So we're gathering information and then creating our own fact find.
So they engage and start paying?
On day one.
And then you book in a 3-month thing, do the work in the background.
Present the strategy after 3 months. And then we'll decide in that strategy meeting what we want to work on first. So depending, it might just be cash flow, in which case we don't do an SOA for however long. It might be that they say, shit, I really need insurance. So then the first 3 months we'll do insurance. And then 3 months down. So then we'll be meeting 3 months later. Then we might decide we want to work on investments. So we don't try and we try and space it out.
And so you just attack one thing at a time. So you don't do an SOA that covers insurance and super and estate assets. No. I just try and I used to. That's a changing process. I found that it was too much for people to digest. I found that as a small business, it was a lot for me to digest, to try and get it all done. And I found that clients couldn't get their head around doing it all at once, and so they just wouldn't do anything. So instead, if I broke it down, it also helps to provide the
logical value over a longer period of time.
Yeah.
Than if I did it all up front.
Sure.
So
yeah. I find it's a bit of a tricky one really with that, because I think that you sort of people want, so like I know a lot of the people I work with, they want a plan, like they want to get clear on sort of everything, where if you go through the steps, it might take longer to get to the result. But I had the same thing, that it is obviously it's a lot, like when I do some stuff and sometimes, you know,
because you front end it, don't you? You typically try and
we try to
get it all done,
put all the plan together once. But this is why we do strategy sessions with people. It can be, like I did one that was 4.5 hours, because you're talking about the modeling and the broader overall strategy, then the banking and the budgeting, cash flow, personal investments. If they've got employee share, got a few guys with employee share purchase plans, all of that, the tax, buying property.
It's a lot, right?
Personal insurance, it can be overwhelming, but it's hard, I think. Then I suppose if you created it in a service, and it's quite an interesting way to do it, just one block at a time.
So what I would say is the strategy session up front is kind of that. It's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Except that we're presenting it in a strategy paper.
Yeah.
So that work has been done by me. So I know what the plan is for the next 12 months.
Yeah.
And so do they.
Yeah.
But the implementation is done over an extended period. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So they make the decision. The first thing I want you to focus on is my insurance. The next thing I want you to focus on is.
And do you ever have people say, I want 2 things?
Oh yeah, in which case we do 2 things. Like it's not.
Okay.
You know, well, it kind of depends what they are. Like if someone's, sometimes super and insurance are intertwined, right?
Yeah.
So you've got to do what's right, and practically what's right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't try and do it all at once, because 1, my business can't digest it, and 2, they can't digest it.
And you said that that's a change from what you were doing
up front. I did the big SOAs instead of the strategy documents, and I found that by the time we got around to implementing stuff, it was just completely different to what the SOA said. So it was just a big waste of time,
right? And
money, really, because time is money.
Things do change.
Yeah. So that's how I do it now. And I think I had the idea from listening to, maybe it was Leah Skadell on XY Bus. She said that she broke them down and did them as small.
I know Lee does it. She does one thing at a time, and then she's got a coach. She's even got a coaching only service where she tells people, like, helps people understand their options and what they can do, and then they go and do it as well. But I know that, I'm pretty sure, at least it was the last time we spoke, that the ongoing piece was more just tackling issues as they go. And I suppose it's partly dependent on your demographic that you're working with as well. I'm working with Gen Ys, they're a bit impatient. They want to get stuff done. You know, working with the older demographic more.
Most of my clients have got a number of kids and working full time, and I just find they can't digest it.
Sure. So in terms of the actual advice process itself, so you have an initial meeting. How does that work? So you have an initial meeting with the client, and then you outline what
I think they need to do. So based on what your goals are, and based on what your circumstances are, here's my strategy for you. So it would be investment strategy, it would be retirement strategy, it would be super strategy, all the standard advice stuff. And it would all just be linked back to what their goals were. So
and is that before they engage you, or that's after?
No, that's after they engage me. So I'm paid engagement, initial meeting, engagement agreement. And then we start work. We don't do any work until we get some money in the door.
Okay. Yeah, good. Smart business sense, Cathryn. You've learned something in the last couple of years.
Yes.
And then you do, so you just do a quarterly check-in with clients and just work through.
And then an annual review.
To reset the strategy.
To reset the strategy, and also that's when your FDS is. And then we'll probably do a formal, we share a licensee, obviously, and just speaking to Dean, our mentor and licensee. He, as a licensee, he wants, SOAs, full annual review SOAs every 2 years. So that's all rolling around for me now. So I'll do that. I'll do the full SOA, which is really just a cut and paste of all my quarterly meetings, because I document.
Well, they already know the strat. They already know the strategies. We do one every year, even though we don't really need to. But where's we get the document automation sorted.
Yeah, exactly. And in many, so my quarterly meeting templates are I'd have a template that we run through, which is all about what are your goals, and then I go by sort of cash flow, banking and finance, investments, super. So it's kind of an SOA layout, but in a digestible form. Yeah. In a 2 or 3 page form.
Cool. And how what's your pricing model look like, and how, if anything, has that changed since you set up?
I think I've probably increased my fees because I don't think you understand how much compliance there is and how much it's going to cost to finance that until a few years in. So, and I also think in your first year, you've got more friends and family and you don't feel like you can charge them the full whack.
So you're fee only, 100% fee only. No asset-based fees.
Nothing.
No insurance commissions.
No. Just no fees except what my clients pay me. No referral fees, no commissions. So I can look my clients in the eye and say the only money I will ever receive is what you pay me.
Sure.
Yeah.
And from day one?
From day one. Yep.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Don't you do the same?
Yeah, I did the same. Well, actually, no, I cheated. I did have asset-based fees because most of my clients got like 40 grand in their super fund, and I knew that was sort of around the money, a bit of laziness on my part and not knowing how to tackle it. But now I'm transitioning all of our clients to.
And why have you decided to do that?
Just
what was your motivation?
Perceived conflict from the client side, and especially because we had a lot of clients. They talk about buying property. I think that there's some potential issues with the property market at the moment. Been talking to a lot of people about personal, like a wrap investment account and those sorts of things. And I just wanted to make sure that, nobody thought that may have been influencing the decision, even though I've got great relationships with clients. But I can see the potential for conflict in the more that obviously we manage, the more that they pay us. So I actually increased the fees. I just ditched the fee because I was probably undercharging.
Yeah, well, it's like, what's $400 if you're charging 1% fee?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's just not worth it.
It's not a huge amount. But we also didn't, they're wrap platforms, they take care of themselves pretty well these days, but we're passive, as you know. So it's not a ton of work in the investment management side. It's more the administration, but that's all wrapped into our other service.
So the other thing I would say is because I've opted not to use investment platforms so far, I can't charge fund fees.
Yeah.
Right? Like, how would you do it?
Take the option out. Yeah.
It's like almost impossible. You'd have to try to pick a day each month that you work it out. It's just too hard.
Yes, that's why people use wraps.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So I don't have to do that.
And so do you have packages? I've got a couple of questions from Sam. G'day, Sam, who was asking me some questions about pricing, and I said, well, we're having this chat. So he was asking, do you have set packages, or do you do a quote depending on the complexity of the advice? Are there, is it like, obviously it's structured, but is it packaged?
Do you know, I don't know if it's as structured as it should be, and that's one of the things I've got to think about in January. Yeah. So I have a minimum fee at which I just have to walk away if they don't want to pay it.
Yeah, which is
about $5,000. Because much below that, that's for 4 meetings a year, not for 1 meeting a year.
Yeah. And do you do an engagement fee, like an upfront fee?
No, I don't.
Straight on top of that?
I don't. I used to. That's another change. Yeah. I used to charge for the initial SOA, which clients didn't value, so they felt like they were being charged for something they didn't value. So that was part of the reason I increased my fees. So I increased my fees and just start charging it quarterly from day one. Okay. So up front, they're paying me a minimum of $1,375.
Yeah.
And then, if they're engaging me 10 grand a year, they're paying me $2.5 grand a year. $2.5 grand is the initial advice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Down payment.
And do you find, is your work front end loaded though? Like in terms of, because
it is. It totally is. Yeah. So I say to clients, the minimum engagement is 12 months.
Okay. Right.
I've never legally held someone to that. Like,
of course.
But like you should expect to be paying me for 12 months. I don't want you as a client if you want to walk away after 6 months, because I have to do lots of work.
Yeah.
Up front, it's front ended. So I tell,
Okay.
We have that conversation.
And what about, so how does insurance play in then if you're, some people get insurance, some people don't get insurance?
So that's all part of the scope of the work,
okay.
right? So, if it's a couple, it's obvious that they're paying a lot for insurance, that it's got full comms in it.
Yeah.
You can save them, mate, thousands, $5,000, $6,000 a year in insurance premiums. Then when you're standing in that room, it's pretty easy to increase your fee because you're about to save them $5,000 a year.
Yeah.
If you're not going to charge them $5,000 if you're saving them $5,000. So
yes.
I'm not saying that to them, but I'm thinking about the overall circumstances and the value I can add for them when I'm quoting on my advice fee. So wealthier people are paying me more in fees than people who are not as wealthy. But part of the reason for that is they've got a family trust.
More complex.
They're more complex, their needs. They might have 3 different investment vehicles. So then you've got to manage 3 different investment vehicles. The nature of the conversations you're having is more complex.
Yes.
Because they're asking you about, quite often about stuff that you're going to have to do detailed research on, investigation on. You have speaking to their accountants more often, their lawyers more often. Yeah. So I would typically try and scope the work. But I wouldn't say that I wish I could tick a box and tell you, and I thought I'd be able to when I started my business, that I could say, okay, if you've got an SMSF, it starts at 4, we add another 4 for a family trust, another 4. But it's not really that simple. And
do you, when you scope a client and you say there's these things involved, I know that, so what if they came back and said they wanted bits and pieces? Do you allow them to do that? Or do you just say, you get the results, then it's this, and then you have to sort of go with that program? Obviously not, you don't choose the outcomes, but the elements.
No, it's interesting you say that. I've had it happen a couple of times, and I quote for the work in different circumstances. So when I do the engagement agreement, I will quote for it and say, if you want me to manage your SMSF, in many cases I'm getting them to shut down an SMSF. So, but if you want to keep your SMSF and me to manage it, I'll charge more. And so I just quote for, depending what their ultimate decision is, I quote for it up front. What do you do there?
So I have and this is Sam was asking about this thing. I got everything in packages, and I've really I've got one package. I've recently introduced a coaching service as well, which is just a general information money coaching, general advice. But that's pretty new. So I don't really do very much of that at the moment. It's more just a package. I just have one package, and then I have some extras on there.
So a bit like one for singles, one for couples.
Yeah. So we've got a fee. It's about $5,000 as an upfront fee for an individual, and then for a couple it works out. It's about $8,000 or thereabouts, and then ongoing is about $5,000 or maybe the same for 8,000-ish for a couple. But then I'll do insurance is $1,900 per person extra, just as an add-on. Self-managed super funds, I don't really do that many of them, but that's more sort of a quote. But I feel if someone's already paying $5,000, you can sort of work that in. Then it's just the extra work.
Oh, you can,
that's there
because you've got that big upfront fee, which helps you to pay for all that work up front.
Yeah, exactly. And there's heaps of work up front, and then part of that, and I was charging less before, and I know that there's different approaches when you charge, but when you pay, when you charge a lower fee at the start and then a client leaves, you end up really frustrated because it's like you've sort of priced down your service, and most people stay, so on balance it works out to be okay. But I just never wanted to have that issue. I just want to make sure that my clients charge fairly, that we're paid fairly for the work that we do. And if someone turns around and says that they don't want to be a client anymore, well, of course I'm sad. And if I don't think that they should leave, I'll tell them that. If I do, if I think, well, we've probably already had the conversation if I do, but then at least I'm not frustrated from a business side to say, well, I haven't been paid adequately for the work.
I agree. Done. It's a tough one, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I mean, you're meeting with your clients monthly, so that's a big commitment of time.
Yeah.
So you can, I think you have to charge a premium fee for that.
Yeah.
Because you can only have so many clients as well, right?
Exactly.
So you have to be well rewarded for it.
Yeah. And they get, obviously Well, we do.
They get Ben Nash.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah, they get Ben Nash.
That's worth way more than $5,000, isn't it, Crossy? But yeah, I think with the insurance, we get a lot of clients with the insurance. We probably come more from people that don't have any existing insurance.
Well, they're young, Gen Ys.
So sometimes they balk at paying $2,000, but when I show, we do a lot of level premiums.
Well, and you can see, right, like with and without comms, how much they're saving.
Tens of thousands.
Yeah.
So, cool. So, hope you enjoyed that, Sam. Good one, mate. Look forward to catching up in the new year. So, we talked before about referrals and how you've grown your business over time. How many clients have you got now?
About 30, so it's quite small.
Uh-huh.
So I've sort of just been adding a couple a month, which is very different to you, I think, because you've been adding more than that. So for me, I can't do much more than a couple of months.
Yeah.
A couple of months, that's enough for me.
Don't get any time on the beach.
Time.
Yeah,
no, I find that when I started my business, I wanted a business that worked for me rather than me working for the business. So that's one of my motivating factors.
Yeah.
I've got 3 little kids, so I want to be able to spend time with my kids. And if I take any more than 2 clients a month, it all gets out of kilter. Yeah. So I'm happy to slow burn it.
Yeah, I think you need to know your limits.
Yeah, it's definitely my limit. You know. Yeah.
And where are they coming from? Because you mentioned, you told me about the hairdresser before. That
was our initial meeting. Top referrer.
But you didn't tell me about the GP. So and what else have you got in the bag? There?
In the kit bag. To be honest, a lot of my referrals now come from. I've got 3 people that are referring me clients consistently. The conversion rate is lower when I'm referred by lawyers and accountants. So I've got 2 lawyers and an accountant that refer me a lot of clients. Conversion rate is a lot lower than if my clients refer their friends. So if a client refers friends, they convert.
Yeah.
So they're my primary sources, really. I've got an accountant and 2. I mean, I've got other referral partners, but the consistent is just 3. And then my clients. Referral partners.
And how did the GP thing come about?
When I first started my business, I'd been through a fair bit in my life, and my GP said, "So what are you going to do next?" And I said, "I'm going to start my own business." I told her what it was, and she said, "I know who your first client's going to be. I'm going to refer you a client."
Right.
Yeah. And so she just referred me clients.
Oh, what a legend.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
So outside of the box referral.
What about you? Well, you do your presentations.
We do workshops. Yeah, so we get about a third from workshops, about a third from our clients, and a third from just sort of random.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Sort of places.
But no referral. So when I say referral partners, I'm not giving them anything to refer me work. I should make that clear. I don't pay them.
Yeah. It's just a mutual collaboration.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I'm the same. Like we don't do any referral fees, pay or receive. But no, I got one client as a referral from an accountant. I have an accountant that I was referring a lot of clients to. I've since stopped because my clients aren't very desirable for accountants because they're
simple, right?
Yeah,
they really need an
YGs,
H&R block tax return, not a.
Well, although accountants say that you shouldn't do that, but I specialise more in PAYG because I don't have. At this stage, I haven't built the framework to adequately support business owners because of the planning we do. It's very planning focused, which is much more difficult, especially if you're in startup phase with business, which people in their 30s, they don't generally have the mature businesses yet. So makes it more difficult. But I've got a great mortgage broker that he's actually an advisor. We used to be licensed together in a previous role, and I refer him all my clients. He does great work. He doesn't refer clients back.
It's the same for me. I've got a great mortgage broker. I refer him heaps of work. Don't get any back. Don't care because he's great. Yeah.
As long as your clients are getting looked after, I think that's the most important thing. Obviously, it would be great if you were getting referrals back, but I think you can make your own. And if you're happy with the pace that your business is growing, you want to grow slow anyway. I'm keen to do it, but I can generate leads myself, and then it's like you don't have to.
Well, how many of yours come through your social media? Because you've got a big social media presence and do all this work in XY Advisor.
Yeah, XY. I haven't referred to
why?
I'm going to have a chat to the police about this. But actually, Clayton did refer me a client the other day. No, yeah, well, it's all sort of a pipeline, so it's hard to say. We do, the ultimate result is generally coming to one of our live workshop type things.
Yeah.
So people go through the pipeline. People do sort of contact from other areas, and that's probably part of that 30%. But I'd say, you know, close to 50% is sort of self-generated, which is cool. It means it's more work to do it, because I have to take someone. It's not like they're getting an introduction from another trusted advisor, like an accountant or somebody that they know.
But I do think, I do think it's hard for referral partners their funnel is really fat, right?
Yeah.
And so I think my referral partners are already referrers, but you know, you might get one client from 10 referrals and you've just spent 20 hours meeting people.
That's it.
Right? Which is another reason why I'm thinking, okay, I need to charge for.
Yeah. And it's really hard as well, I think, when if you're working with a referral partner and their clients don't fit into your mold, and then you feel like you need to do the right thing by your referral partner.
It's very generous of them to trust you and to refer work.
Like I've had like the last referral from another accountant. He didn't become a client, and it was a lovely couple. They were in their sort of late 40s. There was a family trust. There was a business. They had a bunch of cash. There was a self-managed super fund.
There's lots of work.
Heaps of stuff that you can do. But for me to do that work, it's going to take me so much longer than it would for you to do that work, because that's what you're doing all the time. I've got to get my head around everything. It's more complex. It doesn't fit in my nice little process that I built. So you know, I don't know.
Oh, you've got to stick in your niche. I get it. You know, it's the same reason that I refer retirees out to, you know, because I don't know, like, how do I do an allocated pension, and what does that mean, and what's Centrelink benefits? I don't know. Like, that's too hard for me. I can't cope with that.
You need specialists.
You do.
Yeah. Well, Cathryn, we could chat all
day.
We
could. We've been trying to do it all year.
Yes. But thanks very much for joining us.
Pleasure.
Merry Christmas, XY crew. And thanks to our mates at AIA for supporting XY Live. We'll see you guys soon.
See you later.